Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. In a moment, we are going to bring you this week's episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. But first, I want to encourage you, if you're enjoying the podcast, please follow us using your favorite podcast software, and our listener support and appreciation campaign continues, and you can become one of our ongoing Patreon supporters for as little as $2 per month at patreon.greatdetectives.net. Now today we're playing another one this one was a home recording. It's only recently come into circulation, and we played it for Bob Bailey's 110th birthday a couple years ago. But now from June the 1st, 1958, here is the Froward Fisherman matter.
From Hollywood, it's time now for
Johnny Dollar.
Clark Sources, Mr. Dollar, Continental Insurance and Trust Company, Fort Wayne, Indiana.
What can I do for you, sir?
If you have time, I wish you'd come out here and see me.
Mind telling me what it's all about?
Well, as I understand it, you're quite a fisherman.
Well, I like to think so.
That you've fished all over the country at one time or another.
Not as much as I like, but now what's on your mind?
Tell me, in the course of your travels, have you ever run across a client of mine named Bertram R. Halsworthy?
No, I can't say that I have. He a fisherman, too?
That's all he's done for the last 10 or 15 years.
Good man. Is he looking for a fishing pal?
His wife has just filed a claim against his life insurance policy. $160,000.
Oh, died, huh?
Disappeared, Mr. Dollar. Think you might be able to find him for us?
I think I could try. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Continental Insurance and Trust Company, Fort Wayne, Indiana office. Following is an account of expenses incurred during my investigation of the Froward Fisherman matter. Expense account item 1, 4680, transportation to New York, and a mainliner to Fort Wayne. Item 2, 470, taxi from Bearfield into Continental's office on Calhoun Street, where Thorson's got right to the point.
Bertram Halsworthy and his wife lived in Angola, Mr. Dollar. Or rather, just above it on Lake James.
Oh, yeah, that's north of here, isn't it?
Yes, about 45 miles or so. He'd made a lot of money in his younger days. Invented a lot of things, too. Mostly in the line of fishing tackle.
Say, wait, isn't he the man who invented that fast-strike minnow hook?
No, that was somebody out on the West Coast. I used that hook myself. Anyhow, when he retired, it was to spend all of his time fishing. That's why he bought the place on Lake James.
But now you say he's disappeared.
Yes.
When?
Well, all I know is what I've learned from his wife, and that isn't much. He took off one day last February and headed down to Florida to fish in the Gulf of Mexico.
Alone?
Alone. His wife doesn't care for the sport the way he does. Doesn't care for it at all. Unfortunately, I find that's true of a lot of wives.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Oh, then you're married, too?
No, sir. I told you I'm a fisherman. But go on.
Well, then in April, he showed up at home again. Very briefly, just for a few hours. Then took off again. That's the last we know of him.
And that's all you know?
Yes. The police have done a lot of legwork, checked out a lot of possibilities and so on, but have got nowhere.
Then why don't I head on up there and see his wife? Unless you have a better idea.
I wish I had.
Item 3, $50, deposit on a rental car. I headed north through Garrett, Auburn, and Waterloo. When I reached Angola, I stopped at a mobile gas station across from the campus of Tri-State College to ask directions. The attendant knew all about the Halsworthy place on Lake James. I could see why when I got there a few minutes later. It was a beautiful big lodge built of native logs, sitting about 100 feet above the water's edge, with its own private dock poking out into the calm blue lake. As I stood there on the broad screened porch, a big fish jumped clear off of the water. A pike, probably. Or maybe...
Yes? What is it? I didn't hear you ring.
Oh, excuse me. I was admiring your beautiful view of the lake.
I suppose it's beautiful to some people. What is it you want?
Mrs. Halsworthy?
That's right. I'm Mrs. Halsworthy.
My name is Johnny Dollar. I'm an insurance investigator.
Oh, you some news about my husband?
No, ma'am. I'm afraid I haven't.
Well, come in, Mr. Dollar.
Thank you.
I told the insurance company man and the police all I know, but I suppose I may as well tell you, too. Sit down.
Thanks.
But I'm convinced now that Bertram's dead. Where, I don't know. But I'm certain I would have heard from him long before this if he was still alive.
Is that your only reason for believing him dead?
Isn't that sufficient?
Well, I don't know.
That's because you never knew Bertram, nor me. Bertram loved to fish, though why, I'll never know. Once their family grew up and got married and he retired, that's all he cared about.
As I understand it, he left here sometime in February.
And he went to Florida, to Sarasota, Florida. For some reason or other, he seemed to prefer the salt water fishing.
Oh? In spite of settling here on Lake James?
That's right. The only reason we didn't buy somewhere on the coast was because I wouldn't put up with the dampness and mess. I've yet to find a place on the ocean where all the fish he drags into the house don't smell so. Lord knows this place is bad enough with all the mosquitoes and bugs during the summer and the birds and the frogs croaking all night.
I take it you and your husband haven't been too happy together recently.
We haven't. That's why I'm not sitting around moping and moaning and weeping over his passing.
And you have no idea what might have happened to him?
No? That is.
Yes? Well,
that is, unless he got drowned or something like that on one of his silly fishing expeditions. Or unless someone found out how much money he was carrying and killed him for that.
he took a great deal of money with him?
Yes, he always did.
How much, Mrs. Halford?
He never told me. But it was thousands of dollars, you may be sure of that.
He left here in February?
Yes. The weather was too cold in Florida. Too cold all along the Atlantic coast. At least that's what he said in his regular weekly postcard. So he tried up in Alabama, then Tennessee, and then Kentucky, and then heaven knows where. Then in April, he come back here. How long he was here, I don't know. I was in Fort Wayne for a few days.
Then how do you know he was here at all?
He moved one of the chairs in the living room to get to the floor safe, to get some more money to waste on fishing.
Well, how do you know he was going fishing again?
Because of the note he left in the big freezer with the fish he brought back to put into it.
Oh. May I see that note?
I don't know why not. If the Missing Persons Bureau down in Fort Wayne are willing to show it to you.
Oh, I see. And you're sure your husband left no clue as to where he was going?
I'm very sure. Mr. Dollar.
Yes?
My husband is dead. If he weren't, I would have heard from him. You're doing nothing but wasting your time here. My time. I've told everything I know to the police over and over again. If you think you can accomplish more than they have, why don't you go down there and talk with Lieutenant Bascom?
Maybe I'd better. Funny, she didn't seem too concerned about her husband's disappearance. And obviously she had a lot to gain by his death. His property, whatever money was lying around, and there must be plenty, and a big hunk of insurance. Sure, maybe a talk with the police would do some good, so I left. But you know something? I unknowingly left behind me the one big fat clue to the whole situation. Mrs. Bertram Halsworthy, there at the lodge on Lake James, Indiana, had given me no clues at all as to the whereabouts of her missing husband. Lieutenant Bascom at the Bureau of Missing Persons in Fort Wayne was some help, but not very much.
Johnny, we even put out calls to every place that old Halsworthy was ever known to go fishing. And believe me, that covers a lot of territory. He's done nothing else for the last 10 or 15 years, and he's been all over this end of the United States.
His wife said he left some kind of a note, Lieutenant.
Well, here's the note right here.
Oh, thanks. Be home again one of these days, maybe. Meantime, I'm going back to get some more of these beauties.
That means the fish he left in the freezer up at the lodge.
As usual, you'll be happier with me away. And you know something, Martha? So will I.
Signed, Bert.
Wait a minute, Lieutenant.
Yeah?
What kind of fish did he leave in that freezer?
Well, I didn't recognize him, but Hal Warren, who used to pound the beat back in Jersey City, did.
And what are they?
Striped bass. Striped bass. Said he used to catch them along the Jersey shore. So we blanketed the whole Jersey coast with pictures, description, license number of his car, description on the car, everything we had on old Halsworth.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Those fish you found on the coast of New York, New England, the whole thing?
Yeah, I know. Down the whole South Atlantic coast, too. But if you've ever fished the Atlantic coast...
I have, a lot.
Then you ought to know what the cops back there kept shoving down our throats.
What's that?
Sure, it's striper country, all of it. But not this time of year.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Okay, now listen.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Sure, you're going to jump to the same conclusion I did. That with the way they haven't been getting along, with all she has to gain if he's put out of the way...
It is a possibility. As for this note...
Yeah, it's his handwriting, all right. Checked.
But it could have been written any time in the last 15 years about any kind of fish.
So it all adds up, doesn't it? She knocked him off. Nobody else in town saw him around when he was supposed to be here in April, so she may have done it any time since he left in February, or was supposed to have left.
All of which can't be proved, however, until you find his body, plus proof that she did it.
Make it a lot easier for us if she did.
Wait a minute. I'll tell you where those fish could have come from, and this time of year. The Pacific coast.
They're an Atlantic fish, those stripers, exclusively.
No, not anymore. Some years ago, a bunch of them were shipped live from Tom's River, New Jersey, to up around San Francisco, the Sacramento River.
Oh, no.
Sure. And now, up in Northern California, they're one of the best game fish they have.
Oh, brother, that means I start all over again.
That's right, Basket.
Maybe I better stick to the theory that she did it and buried his body somewhere around here.
Now, look, get on the teletype to the police on the West Coast. I'll check back with you. Meantime, I'm going to see what I can find out about her. In the next 3 days, I think I talked to everybody in northern Indiana. Anybody who could possibly know or have contact with a Halsworthy. Sure, it was freely admitted that she and her husband didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but nowhere did I find any reason at all for suspecting she might have done him in. I talked to friends, neighbors, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, shopkeepers, businessmen, bankers, nothing. Then, finally, it was the old family lawyer who gave me a priceless piece of information.
Too long to permit you to even tolerate the thought such a thing could have happened. I should strike you down for suggesting such a possibility, Mr. Dollar.
Well, sir, I'm sorry, but after all...
Granted, he was a froward sort of man, even in his fishing.
Froward?
Yes, that's a good description of him in recent years. Froward. Now, maybe it's her fault, but that does not in any way whatsoever imply that anything he might do or say could possibly cause that fine woman to...
Wait a minute. One word. That one word held the key to the whole matter.
Froward, even in his fishing.
But I didn't realize it then. Even if I had, it probably wouldn't have meant anything. That is, until I got a break the following day. The kind that comes once in a lifetime. Let's lay some cards on the table. An investigator is assigned to a case. The case gets solved, so he takes the credit, whether he deserves it or not. Happens all the time. But this is one time I have to admit I deserve no credit at all. Except perhaps for just being around. All right. After checking up on Martha Halsworthy, I was convinced she didn't kill her husband. The fact remained he was still unaccounted for. And strangely enough, the only clue as to where he might have gone was a couple of fish, striped bass, left in the freezer at his lakeside lodge in Angola, Indiana. All right. I went back to the Missing Persons Bureau in Fort Wayne to Lieutenant Baskin.
Sorry, Johnny, but the police on the West Coast gave us nothing. And they're a thorough bunch, too. If Halsworthy or his car had showed up out there, anywhere out there, they'd have had a lead for us. But they haven't. Nothing.
And those two lousy fish are still our only clue.
That's something else, Johnny.
What?
Stripers haven't been running out on the West Coast either the last couple of months.
Well, he must have got them somewhere and brought them back. Well, Lieutenant.
What?
Is there any way of knowing how long the fish have been in that freezer?
Mrs. H says her husband dropped them off in April. Wait, you think maybe he caught them a long time ago, that they've been there ever since? But, Johnny, that would only incriminate her.
I know.
And you just finished saying...
I know. Now, listen. Is there anybody around who could tell us how long they've been in that freezer?
Well, I guess one of the professors at the university, science department, biology, something like that. Professor Kendall.
Come on.
Huh?
We'll drag him up to the lodge and have him take a look.
Oh, whatever you say.
Come
Johnny.
on. Then came the stroke of luck I mentioned earlier. Just pure dumb luck. As Lieutenant Bascom and I were about to step into my car, an old truck with a camper's body and a boat on the trailer behind it pulled up to a stop.
Excuse me, officer. Can you tell me... Johnny.
Emmett Gowan, world-famous writer of fishing yarns and articles who spent his whole life touring the country, fishing, then writing about it. Emmett, you old son of a gun, how are you?
Oh, just great, Johnny. You remember my wife, Claire?
Yeah.
How are you, Johnny?
Sure, Claire, how are you? Emmett, what are you doing around here?
Looking for a place called Lake James.
Ooh, don't mention it.
I want to do an article about it for one of the... Say, why don't you come along?
Hey, listen. Did you ever run across an old character by the name of Bertram Halsworthy?
Sure, here and there, all over the country.
When?
Oh, last time was early last winter.
Oh.
Yeah, funny old coot. Good fisherman, but a real character.
How do you mean?
Oh, you know, perverse, contrary, obstinate.
Froward.
Huh?
Go on, Emmett.
Well, you know, a real nonconformist.
Oh, that's what it means.
That place used live bait, he used plugs. Trolling water, he used a fly rod.
A man who'd want to catch striped bass when they're on.
Striped?
Yes.
Hey, listen, Johnny. Now, listen careful. I'm going to tell you something about those old saltwater devils you may not believe, but so help me, it's a fact.
I hopped into my rental car and took off. I went south on Route 31, then east into Ohio. I swung south on 25 to Knoxville, Tennessee, then east on 70, south on 16, and I finally reached Columbia, South Carolina. Then east again to a freshwater lake, Lake Moultrie, nearly 100 miles inland from the ocean. On the expense account, that's item 4, $31 even. And my luck still held. It was almost dusk when I pulled up at the dock of a fishing camp at the west end of the lake. Climbing out of his boat was a grizzled old-timer with a string of fish that made my eyes pop out. One of them must have been close to 30 pounds. This was a man I wanted to talk to, or rather listen to. And I did, back in his cabin over a glass of bourbon.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dollar. I don't understand how these striped bass got into this freshwater lake any more than anybody else does. Even the fish and game people.
Stripers in freshwater.
Yes, sir. And only here in Moultrie and over in Lake Marion. Oh, they tried planting them in other lakes, but nothing happened. They don't reproduce.
And I thought I knew a lot about fish.
Oh, I couldn't believe it myself when I stumbled onto it. Impossible, it says. But here they are. Lunkers, too. But sooner or later, every Tom, Dick, and Harry that owns a fishing pole is going to find out about it. And that's when I'll move along.
Why?
Well, I guess I'm just a contrary old cuss. Like to do things a little bit different. So when everybody else comes in, well, I'll be doing something different.
Forward.
But meantime, I'm going to... What was that word you said?
Froward. The Froward Fisherman.
Sounds like a lawyer I know back in...
When are you going to go back home, Mr. Halsworthy?
Now, how did you... Well, I figure it this way. My wife, Martha, has been henpecking me a mite too long about all the time I spend fishing. And I figure that maybe if I worry her a little bit about what maybe happened to me, maybe she'll be a mite more tolerant. And I hate to admit this, I really do, but if she will, maybe I could be a little more tolerant, too. And then maybe we'd be happy again, like we used to be.
Yeah, maybe so. I hope so. I don't know. Life is really funny sometimes. Old man Halsworthy did stay away a while longer. And when he went home, his wife must have seen the light. Because, believe it or not, a couple of weeks ago, I saw her picture in the Fisherman magazine. She was holding up a 9-pound pike she had caught in Lake James. Expense account total $181 even. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Welcome back. Well, this one, the recording didn't have the credits, but John Abbott included them in his book, The Who Is Johnny Dollar Matter. The cast was Byron Kane, Virginia Gregg, Harry Bartell, Will Wright, Forrest Lewis, and of course, Howard McNear. I like this story a lot in general. It's one of my favorite later Bob Bailey Johnny Dollar stories after 1956. But I like it even more within the context of where we're listening to it. It was a nice palate cleanser after yesterday's show. Throughout most of it, it's a pretty whimsical and light story, but still has a nice mystery going and a bit of educational content as well. I think Jack Johnstone probably did very little research on this particular story. The man loved his fishing and probably heard about it through reading about it or talking to other fishermen. And the striped bass is a really nice fish to build a mystery around, and the information in this episode is pretty accurate as far as the story goes. And then, of course, we get kind of a heartfelt ending. I will say that I can't recommend the method of making yourself disappear to make your spouse miss you, but you can say that there was a lot of frustration on both sides of this marriage, and he was wanting things to be better again, and owned that he needed to be willing to change as much as her. And as bitter as her words were to Johnny, I do think she missed him. She was a grown woman, so she couldn't have imagined the insurance company was going to pay off her husband's life insurance because he'd been gone for 2 months. But the idea that he would go somewhere, on one of these way out of the way fishing trips and would get himself hurt and die, and she wouldn't even hear about it, was probably a fear that she had. And I think that was her motivation, even though she said that she was well used to the idea of it happening. The only other thing I'd comment on is that taking large amounts of cash was a lot more common back then. Out-of-town checks could present challenges. You could get traveler's checks, but those could have their difficulties as well. And so carrying a lot of cash, while it might pose some security issues, made it easy for you to be able to get the things you wanted, particularly if you were going to go out into some far-off location. Today, it's far less common, as most people can just take their card, and your cards get accepted in even some very, very rural location. And of course, if that had been the case, then the whole story doesn't happen, as they'd be able to tell where he was going because he was using his card. However, I will say this, that this Mr. Holsworthy character was froward enough that if he had lived in the 21st century, he would have taken cash. He's that froward. Listener comments and feedback now, and we have some comments. First on the ghost-to-ghost matter. Norse jeweler Johnny Dollar writes, "Dear Fred, Daphne, Velma, Shaggy, Scooby, and Adam, this is how you deal with a mystery concerning a ghost. I wonder if there's any room in his expense account for a mystery machine." Good one. And then we have this from S. Charles Martinek. And this, again, on Spotify, when the writers are 6 minutes short, they send Johnny fishing. Lol, this is one of my favorite episodes. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And then, regarding our special, Dawn writes, "Any episode that includes Anthony J. Lyon is a great one, and this is the road to the Valentine matter." Susie writes, "Have enjoyed programs for many years. Hope there are many more to come." And then Norse jeweler Donnie Joller wrote, "Okay, Adam, this may be a long-worded question. I listened to all 4 episodes. Obviously, my favorite was Bob Bailey. Okay, for the most part, except one, all scripts were the same. Different actors, directors, actors, and portrayal. Regan went comedic. Lund and Nightbeat went hard-boiled, and Bailey went sympathetic. So here's my question. What makes a great detective program? The actor, director, script, theme, or is it a combination? Thanks for your time." Well, thank you so much, and appreciate the question. I think it's a combination of all of that, with sometimes, particularly in the audio drama, music and sound design playing a role as well. And I will say it's rare for any one program to hit on all cylinders. Usually there's a bit of something that doesn't quite work, but you can enjoy it for what it does. To me, the Johnny Dollar serials and the Adventures of Philip Marlowe, the one with Gerald Moore, are about as close to perfect as you get. And there are others that you enjoy for what they bring, like often appreciating the characters or the mystery, and overlooking faults in other areas of the production. And of course, much of this comes down to individual taste. It's always fascinating. I used to like to read the IMDb reviews of 1970s Columbo episodes. And every single episode would have one review saying it was the best episode ever, and another saying that it was one of the weaker installments in the series. So much of that is down to subjective opinion. Ingrid wrote, thank you, and this on Facebook, thank you for sharing these 4 versions of an evolving story. It was very interesting which pieces moved to the next version or were picked up later. It was kind of sad that although in both Jeff Regan and Not Beat the daughter had a happy ending, the 2 Johnny Dollar episodes were decidedly downbeat. I did appreciate your opening comments about these episodes. I might not have listened otherwise. Thanks for providing hours of listening enjoyment. Well, thank you so much, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And it really is a fascinating process. When I first heard about script recycling, it sounded like just this lazy sort of copy-paste job. Obviously they didn't have copy-paste, but just that sort of thing where you're copying from one work to another. But I think when we went through the serials this last time, I really kind of started to see, well, that there was a bit more to it. There's a bit more art to this creation, and it was fun to explore this. And I think the 4 episodes were interesting, and you're right, the first 2 had more of a happy ending for the daughter, and the last 2 had a sad ending. I think that the last 2 were probably taking on the same question, but in a more direct way. In the first 2 episodes, you were dealing with someone trying to blackmail this released mobster. But the reason that the blackmail threat was viable was because if it got out, people would make judgments about the daughter, and it would wreck her life and potential marriage. It's somewhat indirect because the focus is on the blackmail plot. In the last 2, it's a lot more direct because she ends up being shot down because her grandfather, who never met her, who doesn't know her, has decided she's bad because her dad was bad. And for that matter, the grandpa doesn't even know the man that her dad has become after all these years in prison. But he's made the judgment. He's made the decision. And so it more directly takes us to questions about justice. When is enough enough? At what point do you let people who are trying to move on go ahead and live their lives rather than constantly coming after them and their families? And of course, there are complicating questions in that regard. And then I think the grandfather raises so many questions in the way that you see someone who has become so self-righteous and so vengeful that he destroyed his whole family. And it just leaves you to consider that. What type of society do you want, and what type of person do you want to be? And that was more hinted at in the Jeff Regan and Not Beat stories, but really brought to the forefront when it was done on Johnny Dollar. Thank you so much, and we have a review on the Apple Podcast Store. This is of the Johnny Dollar feed specifically. The John Reiner writes, "This is by far my #1 podcast. I'm a huge fan of classic radio drama shows, and yours truly is my favorite. I listen while driving. I listen while doing dishes. I listen next to the fireplace in the winter, and I even go to sleep with it playing. Adam, thank you for putting this together week after week." Well, I'm so glad, appreciate you taking the time to leave that review, John. Now it's time to thank our Patreon supporter of the day. And I want to thank Philip, Patreon supporter since December 2019, currently supporting the podcast at the Detective Sergeant level of $7.14 or more per month. Thanks so much for your support, Philip. And that will do it for today. If you're enjoying the podcast, please follow us using your favorite podcast software. And if you're enjoying the podcast on YouTube, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, all those great things that help YouTube channels to grow. We'll be back next Friday with another episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. And, of course, next Monday, be sure and listen to our latest series, Danger with Granger. And we'll be back tomorrow with the great adventurers of old-time radio and Cloak and Dagger, where...
I'm afraid the breakfast is not as sumptuous as it was in the old days, Paul.
Do not apologize for what we cannot change.
Aunt Hilda is right. It was very good. The Roger brood was just as I remembered it. And these currant buns, these Crenton they're wonderful.
I will leave you. I have a house to clean.
You're still suspicious of me?
Have I any reason not to be?
Hilda, enough. Paul is my sister's son. I will stake my own life's blood that he is to be trusted.
Let us hope you do not have to.
Hilda!
Aunt Hilda. Look. This pistol. I'm giving it to you. It's the only one I have.
The only one you have? And you give it to me?
Yeah. I put myself at your mercy. If at any time you have proof, even the slightest, that I'm not what I claim to be, take my own gun and turn it on me.
I will take your gun.
I hope you'll be with us then. In the meantime, send your comments to box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives and check us out on Instagram, instagram.com/greatdetectives. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.